This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
This is Alain Poupart. How are you doing, my man? You feeling good?
I'm doing great. How are you, bud?
Very good. Very good.
Good to hear.
So, your thoughts? Yesterday, Tua was able to address the meteors. First of all, one of the things that stood out to me was the dude was like completely different than the guy you guys got at the end of the year that was all beaten down, worn out, and just like serious. It looked like what could we call it? An enlightened young man.
A man let out of prison, maybe. I don't know. No, it's not. The best quote, which said it all. When he was asked about Brian Flores and his relationship with him, wow. Thankful he drafted me to allow me to play for the Dolphins. That's
Right.
That's it. I mean, if that's not saying 1,000 words, while saying nothing. And then somebody criticized him on Twitter for complaining about. He didn't complain. He was answering a question and he answered it fabulously. I mean, he didn't rag on the guy.
What did he complain about?
About airing out his frustration with Flores, and I was like, dude, seriously. First of all, he didn't complain about it. He didn't mention Flores. He was asked a direct question about his relationship with Flores, and he answered it fabulously. I mean, obviously, if we were to give him truth serum, the answer would probably be a lot longer and it would be a lot more aggressive. Yeah. But in this setting, I mean, he said he delivered the message while doing it in a classy, polite way.
Like he always is. A lot of changes and a lot of good changes is what he said, that's the message you need right there. That's the only one you need right there from him. That's the most controversial you're going to get from him.
No, and as I wrote, if you read between the lines, he said a whole lot without saying a whole lot.
Yeah.
Catch the drift. When he was talking about leadership, like basically saying it's nice to have a head coach who's not going to make you go scream at your wide receivers if they're not running a run route. Now, some people would say that's actually not a bad trait to have if you're a quarterback and want to kick some ass in the huddle or get your guys to do it the right way. But he said that's not his personality, and he kind of likes not having to do it that way.
There's no right way to do it. There's no right way, because we've watched Tom Flores and Tony Dungy, who are cigar store mannequins, and they're excellent coaches. You know what I mean? And then we watch John Madden, who's an excellent coach, and Jimmy Johnson, and they're maniacs on the sidelines. I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way. I mean, Dick Vermeil was crying in every other game. You know what I mean? I've seen all kinds of emotions. You know what I mean? I don't know if there's a right way. You know what I'm saying?
No, and like I was saying, Shula was a complete hard ass too. No, he was talking about in the leadership as far as the quarterback is concerned. But as far as the head coaching styles, no, you're absolutely right. You got to know what you're doing. And you have to have the respect of your players, however it is that you get it.
That's it. However you do it, bro. Because I used to be that guy 20 years ago, maybe 20, 25 easily, that you always wanted that hard-ass coach. But I learned over the years that I'm watching, it's like there's all kinds of coaches, bro. All kinds of ways of doing it, bro. It's just there is no right way to do it. The wrong way is the guy that lies to people, the guy that isn't consistent.
Correct.
Those are the guys. I just had a boxer on with us here, JD Martinez, and he was just talking about like the one thing he doesn't like in the corner is that he doesn't want his trainer losing his crap, and kind of whacked out in the corner and losing it. He'd rather have his trainer be calm, cool, and collective there in the corner, and I think most players actually would like that too. You know what I mean? In a perfect world.
Yeah, and I think above and beyond anything else, I think what they want is respect, and I think they also want consistency is huge. Yes,
huge. Yes, and don't lie. Actually,
Correct.
Even if you have to tell them, dude, you're playing terrible right now, but you have to tell them.
Correct.
You just can't BS them, and that's the other thing that I've learned with athletes over the years. They even if it's the truth and it hurts, but they'll appreciate the freaking truth. But if you're lying to them, that's when you lose them completely too. So yeah, it'll be interesting. The other thing that I thought, and I talked about this before you came on, and the pressure part that people ask, oh, is there more pressure? And I looked at it like, I don't think Tua feels more pressure. I think Tua feels less pressure now. And pressure is Durant, that James Harden is uninterested in playing, and that Kyrie doesn't play on home games. So now I've got to carry the load. Pressure is playing behind an offensive line that can't block, or a running game that can't run, or that you can't get along with your coach, or your offensive coaches aren't very good. That's pressure. Pressure is playing with fractured ribs. But if you give me a line that can block, and you can actually run the ball, and if you can call plays, and I'm healthy, and you're giving me Tyreek Hill, why should I feel pressure? I feel great. I feel confident now. I feel better now, because now I feel like I can do my job. I think it's the reverse. What the hell is that?
That was Samba Pati, my ringtone.
Well, that's a great song.
It is a great song.
I did not pick up Santana on that. Holy shit. Damn. All right, go ahead. But I think it's the other way around for athletes. We look at it one way. They look at it as like, no, dude, now pressure was last year. This is not pressure. Your thoughts?
Yeah, and this whole concept of pressure, there are certain buzzwords that are used a lot in sports media that are like pressure, outside distractions. I mean, these guys are pros. That's what they do. And I wrote a while back, to me, the situation with Tua has not changed. I mean, this is his third year as a quarterback. This is a year where the Dolphins, at the end of which, have to make a call. Are we moving forward with this as our future quarterback? We're moving on. That wasn't going to change regardless of what's around them. And now, guess what? He's got a lot better supporting cast, which will make it easier for him to perform and to show the Dolphins, yes, he's the guy moving forward. So from that standpoint, yes, there should be less pressure, because
he looks at it. No, what the way I want to phrase it is, the athlete does not look at it as more pressure. The athlete looks at it like, okay, now I can do my thing. Actually, they go into it with more confidence. And that's where I think, and it's so true what you just said, the buzzword, the click word, the media members and fans love to use. And it's so cliche-ish. But this is the mother effer that came off the bench and saved Alabama's ass in a national championship game. This guy is not a pressure guy. This guy loves these kind of moments. Marino loves those kind of moments. Montana loves those kind of moments. Brady loves those kind of. If you're that guy, and if you think you're that guy, and Tua obviously thinks he's that guy, you look forward to these kind of things. You're not afraid of it. And that's the part I think people don't understand.
And if you get to a point where you're thinking too much about, I have to do this, or this is going to happen, then guess what? You're not going to be kept around anyway. So
right. Yeah, exactly. I just thought of it. It's just a lot of things that they're looking at it in a different way. Now, he did do something yesterday that was kind of out of character, and I loved it, by the way. I'm good with it. And we kind of expected it, because that's kind of what we see in the offense. But the fact that he came out and goes, we want to yak the hell out of teams, I did not expect him to say that. And we kind of know that's what it's all about, because you can see the skill set and everything that they're doing. But that was fun to hear. I did like that.
Yeah, but I mean, what was the plan last year when they drafted Jalen Waddle? It was to yak, and even.
But you only had one yacker. Now you've got several yackers. So I think that's what they're looking at now. It's kind of like, okay, we'll give it to Chase in the flats, boom, yak. We'll give it to Mostert, yak. We'll give it to Cedric, yak. Waddle, yak. Tyreek, yak. I think it's a little different this year, because you've got multiple options now to try to do that.
Correct, but I'll have to check. I haven't run down the numbers on the running backs, but I checked Waddle and Hill's yak numbers, averages last year were not good. I mean, I know it's easy to look at them and go, wow, I mean, major yak potential, but they were both like in the 90s or the 80s among NFL players in terms of yak average. So that's going to have to improve. But no, the potential is there. And Jalen Waddle said the same thing too on when he was on the I Am Athlete podcast about what he wanted to improve for himself in his second year was
yards per catch. I saw that. Yes.
Yeah. So yak attack, the Dolphins yak attack.
But what I would counter is, did you go back to San Francisco and look at their players and where they ranked in yak?
I didn't. I believe Debo was very high, but I don't know the rest of them.
But look at obviously we figured Debo, but look at all the other ones and see where they were, because both these guys are going to be in his system now, so might be a little different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I didn't really like zone in on it, but I don't. And I looked at the leaders. I don't recall seeing anybody else from Frisco other than Debo, who I think my first or third or something. He was way up there.
Wow, really? Well, you know what? Now that I think about it,
yeah,
it makes sense because he comes out of the backfield so much.
Correct.
So hell yeah, dude. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense that he would be like top 3 overall. All right. What else? Anything else stood out to you from the? I don't. Chris Greer didn't really say too much. That was earth shattering.
Nor would we. Yeah, nor would we expect him to.
Nothing else.
Not a whole lot. No, he didn't. I asked him about the Parker trade and the hesitation about trading him to New England, and because I mean, again, it's not something he's going to say. It's because it was the best offer he got. I asked him if
I was joking around yesterday that he could have, messed around with you guys and say, it's no problem. We bamboozled them with Isaiah Ford. We'll do it again with Parker, but whatever.
Yeah. No, I also asked him whether there was any hesitation in having to wait a year for that 3rd round pick they got, and he said it made no difference to us.
Yeah, I know. No, they love that draft next year, man. All these people are like bragging about that draft next year, man. Not just the Dolphins. It's people all around the league. That's why all these teams at the top, they can't trade down, dude. It's like near impossible for them to trade down because nobody wants the players at the top. They're like, well, the guy I get at 18 is not that far off from what you're getting at 5. Why the hell why am I going to trade up? You know what I mean? It's like it's one of those drafts that you kind of regret having a top 5 pick. Kind of.
You always regret having a top 5 pick unless it's one that you got in a trade.
No, but I mean, at least if it's a top 5 and that there are franchise players there, at least okay, we sucked. We ended up in the top 5, but man, we're going to get it's like, God, I hate to say this, but you end up with the top pick and you go with Ronnie Brown. And it's like you really needed more than Ronnie Brown when you were at that point. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. Maybe Aaron Rodgers, maybe you could have had that year.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it's like, and Ronnie was a terrific player. Don't get me wrong, but
it wasn't a number 2 overall pick though.
Right. It's the number 2 overall pick, bro. It's, yeah, it's kind of tough. All right, what are you working on Sports Illustrated so folks can check you out, my friend?
I'm about to publish something very
risque?
Not risque. I think actually very interesting. It deals with the Dolphins, quote unquote, Bills problem. That's going to be up. Kyle Brandt from Good Morning Football went nuts on it this morning. It's a great clip, and I kind of like attack it from all angles. May update. I wrote about Deebo Samuel and the ramifications for the Dolphins, who, by the way, will not trade for him. But they could be impacted by
waste of time. Waste of time. They have no shot at getting him. They're not going to get him.
But he doesn't want to do his same role anymore, supposedly. So what's the point? I mean, is he that great of a pure wide receiver? I mean,
nobody knows that. He's a running back.
Correct.
So he is a more successful Devery Henderson.
Oh, my Lord. Man. I remember when he played at LSU, played for the Saints.
But you got to admit I'm good that I brought out a former running back that went to wide receiver. You got to admit I'm good. I brought out a guy that's kind of, his liking. But he, Devery was a poor man's Deebo, and he just could never make the transition to be the receiver that they needed him to be. And that's the unknown right now with Deebo Samuel. We don't know if he can be a wide receiver. This is why I've said, Alan, for the last 2 weeks now, when this silly-ass Deebo Samuel talk comes, the part that people never take into account is that's an incredibly dangerous contract. So, wait a minute. So, we don't want to pay bell cow running backs, but now we want to put a receiver in a bell cow position to go running into linebackers and all kinds of stuff, and we think he's going to have a long-term career, and you're going to give him all kinds of guaranteed money, that's the part I don't think people take into account. If you have to play Deebo Samuel the way Deebo Samuel plays, I don't want any part of that long-term contract, dude. That's an injury waiting to happen.
I know, and that's why, again, that's why he supposedly doesn't want to do that anymore. But then you're trading for Deebo Samuel, who doesn't want to be Deebo Samuel anymore. So it makes zero sense.
And you're trading for the unknown.
Correct.
You don't know if he ends up like Devery Henderson and never becomes a good wide receiver.
And you're going to have to give up draft capital, and you're going to have to pay him. So it makes no sense. But it wouldn't surprise me in the least if he wound up in the division, though. So then they'll have to face him a couple times a year.
Yeah, maybe New England. I guess they can.
Jets.
Wow, pobrecito.
Robert Saleh, Mike LaFleur have the 49ers connection. They were all in on Tyreek Hill. They have draft capital. They have cap space. Maybe they grease him enough to convince them to do the Deebo role again for at least a year, So it's if you connect the dots, the Jets make a lot of sense there.
Yeah, but I give him credit. At least he's smart that he figured out that him and his agent figured out, hey, that was great, but Deebo, you may not want to do this long term. There's stuff doesn't bode well for you. All right, follow him on Twitter at Poupart NFL, and you must bookmark his Sports Illustrated page. Every Dolph fan on the planet's got to do that. Poupart, as always, thank you, my brother. We'll catch up next week, my friend. Have a great weekend.
You do likewise.
You got it. There we go. Alain Poupart.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big